I want to go right to Congressman Tom Emmer. He is the House Majority Whip representing the great state of Minnesota. How you doing, Congressman?
Doing great, Mike. Good morning.
Great to talk to you. I want to start off on not a great note, if you don't mind, but we have many things to celebrate today as well that we'll get to. But we've been taking calls all morning from people in North Carolina or people who have traveled to North Carolina, bringing supplies and helping out and what they've seen, and it's horrible, of course. And then we see Kamala Harris on Saturday, the most tone-deaf tweet I've ever seen in my entire life, talking about how concerned she is for the people of Lebanon and how we're now giving another $157 million to the civilians of Lebanon. What the heck is this about?
Well, it's the problem they have with their radical left-wing base. And quite frankly, Mike, Kamala Harris is not ready for prime time. She shows a lack of intellectual ability on a regular basis with stuff like this. And I think you're being kind to her when you say she's just tone deaf. I think it's a lot deeper than that. It's why she's not ready for the White House, and it's why people are going to elect Donald Trump within the next month.
We played the clip. Who did play? She was on Meet the Press this weekend. Andrea Mitchell made the same point. So this just isn't, right-wing hack Tom Emmer making the point. It was Andrea Mitchell said, well, she was talking about how men in particular, but people do not think that she's weak. She's not ready for this job.
No.
How can she prove it otherwise?
Well, she's not ready for it,
days.
and she can't prove anything. She's been there for 4 years, Mike, and look what's happened. 20% inflation. I think, the way the government measures it, that might actually be low. Your groceries are up by almost 30 to 40%, and the list goes on and on. Our border's been wide open. You got all of these illegals coming across the southern border, and I would argue you got a problem on the north border too, but not quite as publicized as the south. And then the fires all around the globe, which she is directly responsible for with ridiculous tweets like that. It is a time for choosing, Mike. It's not a time for equivocating and playing politics on an issue of such great importance. The attack on Israel is not just an attack on Israel. It's an attack on Western civilization. And these inept boobs in the White House, they don't get it. So it's time for a change.
You brought up immigration. I saw these numbers first, and I did not want to report them because I didn't know where they were from. So I couldn't back it up. But turns out these are from the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse at Syracuse University. Not exactly a right-wing, powerhouse over there at Syracuse, right? So they looked at the number of illegal aliens, unauthorized migrant population in the different swing states, and then the percent increase from 2021. And the percent increase from 2021 is about an average of 400% increase in each of these states. But in Arizona, there's 25,000 illegal aliens. Pennsylvania, 25,000. North Carolina, 33,000. And Georgia, 46,000 illegal aliens in these different states. And then I guess one of the questions is, how many of these people are going to vote illegally? Maybe, among other concerns. What do you make of these numbers?
Well, you didn't even mention, those numbers are staggering for each of those states, but you didn't even mention New York. You didn't mention Illinois. You didn't mention California or Minnesota. And I'm going to tell you, we have to be extremely vigilant on this illegals voting, because I don't know if you saw Tim Walz on, I think it was one of the morning shows yesterday. They asked him about his law that he signed giving illegals in Minnesota the ability to get a driver's license. Mike, when they get a driver's license, they get an application, a registration to vote. It's insane, and we need to be very, very vigilant. We need to be aware. It's one of the reasons why Michael Whatley is running the RNC, because they're creating a program, especially in the battleground states, where they know where the problems are. They're going to have more observers in the precincts. They're going to have lawyers available. They're going to have judges available. We're going to have to just make sure that we are the ones that are policing this problem.
Yeah. Here's Nancy Pelosi on Bill Maher the other day, because it's not just this election and potential for fraud, but obviously future elections, as they, I guess it wouldn't be fraud, but they want to make these people eligible to vote officially. And here's Nancy Pelosi on that the other day.
This is before you arrested this. This is undocumented. This is for the undocumented.
Well, what I would like to do is move them to documented.
Okay, there you go, obviously. All right, on voting, Congressman Emmer, our other main topic of the day is this Democrat Party website called votefromabroad.org. And they're using the Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act of 1986. And my concern, of course, any service member who's serving abroad, like, of course, they should be eligible to vote, whatever. But it's the overseas citizen part that I have questions about. And I don't know what the laws are of people who they're American citizens, but they lived in France for the last 20 years, and whether or not they're still allowed to vote in Wisconsin where they used to live or whatever. I don't know what that law is. We'll figure that out. What I'm concerned, though, is how ripe for fraud it is. When I filled out this form on votefromabroad.org, and I'm just making up addresses, but it says they'll email me a ballot, and in 31 states, you can vote digitally. So not only no paper trail, but this electronic trail that if you wanted to investigate would send you all over the world to try and figure out. And of course, they'll Rudy Giuliani you if you dare try after the election. What do you know of this website and this effort to get people to vote who are living abroad?
Well, I'll let the election lawyers correct me if they disagree with this. But first off, Mike, that website, I would argue, is fraudulent. You can't vote in a state, in a community that you don't live in. We do this for our service members who are literally residents of that community, of that state, who are serving abroad. We don't do this for people who have been living abroad for 20 years. It should be something that's very easy to cull out. But again, you cannot trust these people. They will do anything and everything. We've seen what lengths they'll go to try and make sure that they're the ones that stay in power. The good news, Mike, is I think American citizens have had enough. Whether you're Republican, Democrat, or other, I think people want honest and fair elections, and they're tired of this kind of nonsense. And I believe we'll prevail despite their efforts on November 5th.
Yes, my brothers lived in London the last 15 years. They just moved back a couple weeks ago. But it's one thing for can you vote, Rob? Like that. That's even one thing. And like, what state would you even vote in, brother of mine? But I'm then more concerned about the fraud potential, because how are they going to track? It's hard enough to track voters in Arizona, which, by the way, there was a big oops. There's like 96,000 people that were only registered to vote in the federal elections because they didn't prove their citizenship that accidentally are eligible to vote in the state and local elections. And the state Supreme Court in Arizona was like, you can't take them off that list. Now they get to vote. And oops, sorry. So how many of those are there going to be with people voting abroad that will never be able to check? That is a huge, huge problem. Obviously, we'll talk to Watley about it too, but I just wanted to emphasize it on your radar as well.
It is, and we're well aware. And the only way to solve this problem is to elect Donald Trump and J.D. Vance on November 5th. If you want voter ID, if you want proof of citizenship, if you want same-day voting, if you want to clean up all this nonsense, and you know exactly what they're doing, Mike. We passed the SAVE Act in the U.S. House of Representatives. What a novel concept. Only U.S. citizens can vote in U.S. federal elections. Democrats all voted against it. That tells you everything you need to know, Mike, about what their true intent is.
Yep. And Gavin Newsom, of course, passed the bill the other day in California. It says no town in California is allowed to ask people for an ID to vote in any election moving forward. Of course, so we know the play. So we played a clip of Elon speaking at the Butler rally this weekend and talking about Trump wants to get back to the Constitution, and we want he didn't even mention immigration. We want the Constitution, freedom of speech, and like that was like his main point. And like decrease the size of government or something like that. And the guys on CNN are like, "Oh, Elon likes Trump because he agrees with his authoritarian leanings." Like, geez, guys, the Constitution and freedom of speech is an authoritarian leaning. Anyway, I bring that up just. I'm sure you saw some of the rally the other this weekend. Pretty amazing, right?
Yeah, 105,000 people, I think they estimated, were there. Look, they're going to say that about anybody who is supporting Donald Trump. They're going to argue that it's authoritarianism. You know what? Everything they say, and this includes CNN, which to me is nothing more than a communications arm for today's socialist Marxist Democrat Party, it's always what they're doing. They are the ones that are attacking our democracy. They are the ones that are, you take a candidate who gets millions of votes and you just push him over the cliff and install a new one because you think you have a better chance with her. The American people are smarter than they think, Mike. That's why we're going to be successful on November 5th.
What House race are you excited about right now that we should put some more focus on in these last 30 days here?
I'm really excited about New York. There's another poll out today from Long Island. Long Island's been a Democrat stronghold for 30 years, and it looks like our candidates are not only doing well, but Trump is doing well. I saw a poll in the last 2 weeks that had Trump up by a point on the island. That's amazing, Mike. Then look around the country. California, I think, is going to be a bit of a surprise. Gavin Newsom and these radical policies. You're not going to win California, but you're going to win some seats in California. More importantly, you're going to hold seats in California that people have thought were gettable for Democrats for a long time. And I think the states that I'd be watching Pennsylvania, because if Trump and Vance win Pennsylvania, which I believe they're going to, we have a chance to win 3 seats in Pennsylvania, Mike. I'd watch Ohio. If Bernie Moreno is winning in Ohio because Trump and Vance are going to win in Ohio, we're picking up not just 1 seat, but 2 seats. And then watch Michigan. Michigan is another one where if Trump and Vance perform well in Michigan, we could pick up not just 1, but possibly 2 seats in Michigan. So I'm excited for November 5th. We just got to run it through the tape.
Okay, so you think there's a potential to flip 3 in Pennsylvania, 2 in Ohio, 2 in Michigan?
Amen.
That's the plan.
Yes,
okay.
And we are going to flip 3 in North Carolina, sight unseen. That's done.
Okay, awesome. What is the situation with Nebraska? If things are close, this one Nebraska electoral vote could be very important. But am I correct in saying that all the congressmen in Nebraska are Republican? So what's up with that? What's up with that one district then in Omaha that could go blue if the congressman in that district is a Republican?
Well, it's always done this. That's a district that includes college campuses that has been it's been kind of an even to a D plus something for a long time. Don Bacon holds it. And what you're talking about, so listeners, if they don't understand, know, Nebraska has a system that isn't winner take all for electoral votes. So most states, with the exception of 2, award all their electors to whichever party wins the popular vote in that state. In Nebraska, they award it based on congressional districts, and then they do the Senate seats. So there's one elector that you're talking about, Mike, that if it goes Democrat, that one elector would go to the Harris-Walz campaign. And there's been a discussion. You'll have to update me because I wasn't on top of what's happened recently. There's been a discussion to change it to a winner-take-all state. But Don Bacon's going to win that district, and I think Don Bacon's going to help Trump and Vance actually win that elector.